What if you had the chance to live again with a brand new life? Could the regrets and pains of the past be fixed if given the opportunity? If you're interested, follow this guy's journey. He's a talented and hardworking person, but the twists of fate always crush him. From having to pay off a huge debt to losing his father. Until his life finally stabilizes a bit, but then he dies in a car accident. Oh, such a miserable fate. But fortunately, his soul receives a blessing from a mysterious person and gets a chance to return to the past to fill the regrets in his heart. A new journey, a new opportunity has opened up, and how will the future change? Stay tuned. In an unfamiliar space, a mysterious man with an unclear face stands opposite a faint soul, continuously asking if the soul has any regrets. The vague soul looked around as if it hadn't realized what was happening and absent-mindedly forgot to answer the man's question. Seeing this, the voice from the opposite person echoed again, "Just tell the truth, it's okay." The soul laughed and gave an unrelated answer, "You look good in that outfit." It's not easy to wear something like that, truly a person with a keen eye. It seems like you always wear suits, no wonder it's like that in the movies, the soul added, touching its chin with a wise look. How wonderful it is to have such a handsome companion after death. The man opposite remained silent for a moment, then burst out laughing, "Ha ha ha, Mr. Licharyong, thank you for the compliment, but I am not the Grim Reaper. You've misunderstood something. Moreover, this suit is the one you wore. Have you forgotten?" As soon as the words ended, the vague soul standing opposite was suddenly dressed in a similar suit, and its once blurry face became clear. "Now, tell me, what is your greatest regret, Mr. Licharyong?" "Regret? I have no regrets," Licharyong answered without much hesitation. The unidentified man patiently asked, "Think carefully, or should I guess? Do you regret becoming a salesperson? You should have been a businessman or a physical education teacher according to your major, right?" Licharyong's soul smiled and shook his head, saying no. The mysterious man suddenly snapped his fingers, his voice rising with excitement. "Ah, or is it about being cut from the national team in high school? Even though you were very talented, you were played dirty to the point of getting injured. That's something regretful, right?" Hearing the mysterious man reveal his secret, Licharyong couldn't help but laugh. "You know me well. Indeed, I do regret that. So the one who replaced me won a gold medal and became a national athlete, participating in the Olympics 3 times. So I have no regrets. If I had chosen Taekwondo, I wouldn't have given up because of discouragement. Can't give up." The mysterious person continued to talk about another terrible thing. "How about this, although not really related, your father was deceived when doing business, right? Oh my God, a debt of up to 2 billion won, because he didn't declare bankruptcy, you had to use your whole youth to pay off the debt for your father." Recalling the painful memory, Lee Charyong was completely calm without any negative emotion. "Haha, 3 years ago I finished paying it off and it took me 14 years to pay both principal and interest. As expected, you are reading my mind, it's amazing, so you know what I've regretted, right?" Listening to Lee Charyong's strangely calm voice, the mysterious man approached and smiled. "Mr. Lee Charyong is really an interesting person, but still, tell me what you really regret." Lee Charyong's eyes were calm as if they could see through space and time into his past. That year he was 27 years old, holding a high school diploma in his hand. Thinking that he could do it as long as he tried and never gave up. The wisest decision he made was to become an import car salesman. At that time the golden age of import cars was about to flourish in Korea. At first glance, Lee Charyong knew that if he became a car salesman he could make a lot of money if he was competent and he could pay off the 2 billion won debt. That was also the promise he made to his father, to be a son, a man, and the pillar of the family. Remember your father's words, to become a man, you must take responsibility for your family and children, to be someone who can endure everything for the family. At that time, Lee Charyong's father asked him if he believed him. Father never lied, and more importantly, business can't improve immediately. You must know how to forge and temper your hot-tempered nature, and not just by trying hard will you become skilled. You must know yourself and accumulate experience, right? Finally, he had enough ability to pay off that debt, but... At this point, the happy smile on Lee Charyong's lips suddenly faded, and he lowered his head. It was a terrible day for Lee Charyong when he received the bad news and rushed from work to the hospital. Son, for the past 10 years, every day, father has felt guilty and wanted to give up on life. Even though he regrets it, father can only watch your back in vain. But then, Dad fell seriously ill, and the burden on his son grew even heavier. So Dad decided to end his life. "I'm sorry, sorry, sorry my son." In those heart-wrenching sobs, those were the last letters the father left behind. "I'm truly sorry, son, for becoming a burden. Now, Lee Charyong knows how to run the business, and he has become much better." But unfortunately, his father could not witness that. There were countless dark nights when he wondered if he had been just a little faster, just a bit more, to pay off the debt his father left behind. Would his father not have chosen to leave so painfully? "Dad, the debt you left behind, your proud son will pay it all off. I want to show you that your life would not collapse because of 20 billion like this. But why didn't you persevere until the very end?" Tears rolled down the cheeks of the unfortunate man, and that was what he regretted the most. Facing the overwhelming emotions of Lee Charyong, the mysterious man in front of him, dressed in a suit, showed no emotion and asked, "Mr. Lee Charyong, do you know that your mother is still safe?" Hearing this, Lee Charyong began to shed tears and nodded, "I know, and perhaps it's really fortunate. I was the one driving that car, and luckily I managed to steer the wheel just in time. Although regretful to leave before my mother, I still have a kind sister and a reliable brother-in-law, so I am somewhat at ease. Now, I can no longer be the pillar, but perhaps they will be fine." As soon as he finished his story, the mysterious man in front of him suddenly signaled him to close his eyes. Facing Lee Charyong's puzzled gaze, the man did not explain much and just sighed lightly, "This will be a bit of a loss, but you are a special case. The thing you regret the most will be imprinted deep in your heart, so when you return, make sure to do well." As he spoke, the mysterious man's hand gently touched Lee Charyong's forehead with a strange energy. "Instead, due to the law of cause and effect, there will also be a punishment. Even if you retain knowledge and experience, you will lose all memories of things that can easily make money, like which stocks are good or where real estate prices are rising. This process will be a little dizzying, even so, don't open your eyes and remember to live well." Those were the last words Lee Charyong's soul heard until he once again sank into a daze, unable to perceive reality, bubbles rising in the flow of time before the scene shifted to a damp, worn window under the moonlight. The young man lying on the floor suddenly startled awake. With a chaotic mind and a head throbbing like it was being hammered, he tried to sit up and assess his surroundings. Until he could see clearly, Lee Charyong was horrified and couldn't believe his eyes. Ahead of him was the comforting voice of his mother. "Sir, shall we play a game of Go Stop?" Looking at the familiar backs of the two people, Lee Charyong realized this was the basement house in Daegu where his family used to live. Seeing his parents' appearance, he couldn't help but laugh provocatively. "Are you pretending because you're afraid I'll win all the money? If you keep lying like that, you'll get bedsores." Silent for a moment, his father finally weakly replied, "Son, okay, I'm sorry. Oh my God, if there are any mistakes, let's play 10 rounds, no, just 5 rounds. Really, without you, who would I play with?" The familiar voice and appearance of parents are something Lee Charyong can never forget. "If that's true, have you really come back?" As he stood bewildered at the door, his mother suddenly turned around and noticed him, so she smiled and asked, "Son, haven't you slept yet?" Lee Charyong quickly regained his composure and smiled at his mother. "I woke up because this lady here insisted on playing Go Stop." After speaking, he slowly walked closer and called his father, but only received a tearful apology in return. With a faint smile on his lips, Lee Charyong sat down, placed his hand on his father's shoulder, and gently comforted him. "Dad, you don't need to look at me, just listen to me. 2 billion is a huge amount, and because it's such a large sum, you've been more exhausted. This time has been really tough for you, hasn't it? But strangely, I don't think that amount is that big. Anyway, I want to personally pay off that debt for you." No, Dad, I'll be able to pay it all back soon. It won't take much time. So you have to watch over me, okay? My son is absolutely not lying, do you believe me, Dad?" In a tired whisper, the man tried to bite his lips tightly to suppress the sobs, but his whole face was drenched in tears. Noticing his father's emotional state, Lee Charyong turned to look at his mother. Then the hands of the 3 family members were placed together warmly. "Don't worry, Dad, from now on I'll be the pillar of the family. This time, I definitely won't have any regrets. But son, aren't you going to sleep? You have an interview tomorrow." Listening to his mother, Lee Charyong suddenly remembered about the next day. "Yes, Mom already bought you a suit to wish you good luck for the interview." There, do you see it? Following his mother's direction, Lee Charyong saw the familiar suit with a complex look in his eyes. Quickly, a warm night passed. The next morning, Lee Charyong woke up early and got on the crowded subway, hurriedly passing by people. Wearing a new suit made him look more dignified and handsome than usual. Silently feeling the atmosphere around, Lee Charyong sighed and wondered, something was very strange. Then his hand slowly reached into his pocket to take out his mobile phone. Clearly, it felt like it wasn't a joke, like a fleeting glance followed by a light pat. A month ago, a calamity struck his family. His father's career had collapsed, so his family grabbed their clothes and fled to Daegu as if someone was chasing them. In his previous life, Daegu was a city of both love and hate for Lee Charyong. It was his mother's hometown, but for him, it was a strange place with no close relationships. This place was also the worst possible environment for doing business for him, and he had suffered greatly because of it. And now, Lee Charyong returns once more to the starting point. After all, that man must be a devil, right? As that man said, his mind feels like it's been wiped clean with an eraser, and several important pieces of future information are missing. Now, he can't remember anything about real estate stocks or even anything new that's going to be developed. If he could remember, those would definitely be easy money-making opportunities. But there's something even more noteworthy. It's that the knowledge and potential of the car craze are still vividly alive in his mind, from the past to the future. Looking at the cars outside the train window, Lee Charyong silently resolved that sooner or later, he must invest in some aspect of the automotive field. A little later, Lee Charyong arrived at a car showroom called Taylor, which stood out prominently on a bustling street. Hello everyone, I am Lee Charyong, the candidate for this interview. A very professional and friendly smile bloomed on his face. Facing him was a young man with an annoyed face who opened the door, invited him in, and irritably asked if there was an interview today. Seeing the familiar face and voice, Lee Charyong smiled inwardly and greeted silently, "All right, I'm also very happy to see you, Cha Hongcho." At the reception desk, a cute girl nodded at Lee Charyong and said that the branch manager and the team leaders were in a meeting, so he should wait over there for a moment. Of course, Lee Charyong also recognized the girl, and her name was Mi Min. He wanted to greet them, feeling an itch to do so, but had to hold back. At this moment, they were all just people he was meeting for the first time. While waiting for the interview to proceed, Lee Charyong didn't forget to glance around, and a feeling of both familiarity and strangeness surged within him. Beautiful, shiny cars were displayed in an orderly manner, extremely prominent. Right in the middle of the pristine white wall in the lobby was a large logo of the car company. Even people who know nothing about cars have heard the name of this car company at least once. The name, Taylor, was taken from the founder's surname a long time ago. Although it wasn't the first car in the world, due to its long-standing brand, it accelerated a few steps and made the Model T popular and a hit. In Lee Charyong's past life, he had to wander around Daegu for a week when he first arrived here. He had to call all the import galleries and say he wanted to find a job there. In the end, heaven did not forsake him. Taylor was the only place that smiled and told him to come meet them once. Later, he learned that inquiries about recruitment at the reception desks of the galleries were not very welcome. This is understandable since he was not a customer. They also considered that there was no official announcement, and staffing issues were only handled internally and under appropriate circumstances. This is the working method of import car companies, so such recruitments were often ignored. While Lee Charyong was pondering, the sweet voice of the receptionist called out to him from behind. "Hey there, please follow me." As he followed the receptionist up the stairs, looking at the familiar scene, he suddenly remembered that day in his past life. That day was indeed very lucky because the branch manager directly answered the phone and then interviewed Lee Charyong right here. It's truly miraculous, a feeling both strange and familiar. But in this life, some things have changed. His train of thought was interrupted when they arrived at a conference room and a receptionist invited Lee Charyong to step inside. The sound of someone approaching and knocking on the glass door made him wonder, oh, in my previous life, was I also interviewed in this meeting room? After getting permission from the person inside, Lee Charyong entered, politely bowing and greeting. "Oh, you arrived early, please have a seat." As the team leaders were coincidentally meeting, I invited them to join us for this interview. Are you okay with that? After a brief exchange of pleasantries, the interview officially began with the first question, "Do you want to work at this company?" Receiving the question, Lee Charyong didn't forget to assess those sitting in front of him. Yes, I want to work at this company, which is why I applied for this interview. Hearing the answer, branch manager Lee Sang-sik asked with a dangerous look in his eyes, why do you want to work here? Tell us why we should hire you. In the previous life, 2 years after Lee Charyong joined the company, branch manager Lee Sang-sik had to leave due to poor performance. In a world where work performance is your business card and evaluation, branch managers don't have an easy seat. Especially for branch managers in areas with few showrooms, the risk is even higher. If they don't perform well, they won't keep their seat. Despite this, manager Lee Sang-sik always prioritized taking care of employees over revenue. He was too soft to manage personnel effectively. The real power here was team leader Choi Min-ho. While taking a break, Lee Charyong looked at the cold-faced young man with glasses before him. He was the sales king and a senior team leader, single-handedly accounting for 1/3 of the sales in this showroom. In the previous life, young Lee Charyong had difficulty starting conversations, but now, the nature of this body has been through countless business hardships. Although he appears as a young boy, his soul is that of a salesperson over 40 years old. To be honest, everyone sitting in this room is younger than him, including the 2 team leaders. They all look very young and cute. Thinking of this, Lee Charyong couldn't help but smile happily, which made the branch manager misunderstand his concern. Is he too stressed? Why isn't he answering? Just feel free to respond. Lee Charyong nodded and silently made up his mind that the first person to choose him in this interview was the branch manager, so this time he would choose him. Director, please be a branch manager for a long time and very comfortably. Arranging within the thoughts, he answered the initial question. I think when selling cars, the customer is best to be someone who needs a car immediately. Some people may think that it is not business, but for me, understanding and meeting the customer's needs is what is important. I think that is the basic principle in business. With mature speech, persuasive words, clear and confident demeanor, Lee Charyong made everyone in the room very surprised and pleased. Currently, the sales staff of this tailor showroom has a total of 4 people per team, including 3 team leaders. There should be a total of 12 people, but there are only 11 currently. I know that and also understand that the company needs 1 more person for this showroom. That is why everyone should choose me. Oh, so how did you check the number of our staff to understand so clearly? Sitting across from Lee Charyong, he smiled gently and said, the branch manager received my call and asked me to come for an interview a week ago. So during this time, I checked out the situation at the tailor gallery. After 3 days of observation, I discovered that there are only 11 salespeople here, and the staff organization doesn't seem quite right. Coincidentally, just now I saw that 3 people in a team were meeting, so I realized there was a position vacant. The answer was clear and quite convincing, but in reality, how could that be the case, Lee Charyong thought to himself. He had only returned to this life yesterday, and what he was saying now were experiences from his previous life that he still remembered. As Lee Charyong finished speaking, the sales king Choi Min-ho raised his hand and said, branch manager, I have something to say. This young man in front of me knows himself and knows the enemy, he wins every battle. That's quite impressive. After praising him, Choi Min-ho's tone became sharp, and with curious eyes, he looked at Lee Charyong, but why must you have that position? Couldn't another position be acceptable? We haven't officially announced any recruitment, so isn't there a reason for leaving that spot open? According to what Lee Charyong knew from his previous life, Choi Min-ho was a double-edged sword. He possesses exceptional abilities but is solely focused on sales and prioritizes his own profit, creating various bad habits in the sales organization for his convenience. Basically, he doesn't care about the other employees, yet he is so quick to pay attention to Lee Charyong. Looking at the youthful face of Lee Charyong, Choi Min-ho gently reminds him that it's a necessary position but perhaps not urgent to recruit right now. Lee Charyong smiles back, saying that it must be inconvenient because the team already has 3 people, regardless of whether it's midweek or the weekend, there are always 2 people working each day. Those who have morning meetings also work, and if what I see is correct, a team of 3 members will inevitably get very tired. Their fatigue will reduce work efficiency, and compared to other teams, they have 25% less rest time. At this point, Lee Charyong suddenly goes silent, prompting Choi Min-ho to urge him to continue speaking. And you need diligent people, this is the last recruitment unless someone quits. Colleagues or team leaders will feel more reassured if there are more people in that position. At some point, you'll need an honest employee to manage sales, and you'll have to endure the inconvenience of being short-staffed until you find the right person, and I think you've left that position vacant for quite a while. Lee Charyong's judgments are relatively accurate. Choi Min-ho patted his chest and nodded, yes, but whoever sits in that position will have to be honest. You will get the job you want, but if you don't work hard, you will be eliminated. That's obvious. So no matter how reasonably you explain the situation, your reasons are not entirely correct. Smiling gently, then placing a hand on his chest, Lee Charyong continued, but it seems like the team leader hasn't heard my story yet. In a short time, I can't show it accurately, so a trial period is needed, and I'm really sorry. Every word of Lee Charyong was soft and gentle but still firm, not wavering at all under the head's questioning. A newcomer being so bold and heroic made almost everyone in the room startled and bewildered. They suddenly realized that the young man in front of them was not as naive as he appeared. Of course, Lee Charyong was tough and unyielding because he had confidence and the capability to be confident. Moreover, this is a business organization, not a game. A talented person who leads conversations without making others fearful or tired is an essential quality in business. Of course, for Choi Min-ho to settle into his new position, overcoming Lee Charyong is a hurdle he must face. And the person with the final say on personnel decisions is branch manager Lee Sang-sik. These are the processes I will carry out, and the things I have mentioned. Naturally, if I say that I will thrive in this position, you probably won't believe it, and I don't want to guarantee that result either. The process leading to the result isn't a matter of working alone, but rather a collaborative effort with colleagues. Colleagues helping, with support from superiors, and the branch manager serving as a solid shield. Through all those people and advantages, I will create my own business process, and the last thing I want to say is effort. Sitting in a corner, Choi Min-ho listened to Lee Charyong's presentation with annoyance. Just a kid who knows nothing about reality and only says fancy nonsense. Of course, Lee Charyong quickly noticed his annoyed expression, which was the reaction Lee Charyong had expected. Choi Min-ho seemed to have annoyed written all over his face. Choi Min-ho didn't care how much was sold. He didn't even care about how it was sold, and many people were swayed by his values. Lee Charyong still remembered the person he regretted not being able to stop in his previous life. From the beginning until now, the branch manager had been silent, but now he spoke up and made a decision, asking if Lee Charyong could prove himself in 1 week. Lee Charyong smiled and said 2 days would be enough. It would be great if you could start quickly, but you know what a week means, so you said 2 days is enough, right? Lee Sang-sik asked. Yes, that's right. His honest answer made the branch manager laugh out loud. All right. I'm looking forward to seeing how long your enthusiasm will last. The start date for the probationary period is this Wednesday, so take a week off and come back next Monday. Once you start working, you'll be very busy, so prepare yourself thoroughly. The initial step in putting down roots at this company has somewhat stabilized, so Lee Charyong could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Yes, Director, I'll start working next week. That day, right after the interview ended, a department head sneaked into the branch manager's office. The team leader looked around like a thief, then pulled the curtains, leaving the director bewildered. Director Lee Sang-sik irritably called out, "Hey, John Jongbek." Department head John Jongbek faced the annoyed director with a goofy smile and raised 2 packets of drinks. "Oh my God, what are you doing in my office, John Jongbek?" It's been a long time since I made a special drink like this for you, John Jongbek." Looking at the warm drink placed in front of him, Lee Sang-sik sighed helplessly. "Stop doing this, it scares me." Director, what was that guy's name just now?" Taking a sip of the drink, Lee Sang-sik coldly answered, "His name is Lee Charyong." Immediately, Chan Chongbek gave the director a pleading look. "It's time for us to reform the team, isn't it? Let me join that group, Director." "No, even if there's a reorganization, it won't be with you." As the director finished speaking, Chan Chongbek slammed the table and stood up in shock. "Why? Is it because of the people under Captain Choi Min-ho? Why? Seeing his frantic state, Lee Sang-sik shouted angrily, "Stop it right now. Get out, you're too noisy." After some chaos, the noisy Chan Chongbek was kicked out, and he happened to notice someone knocking on the director's door. That person was none other than Choi Min-ho, and it seemed that Chan Chongbek didn't like this cold and arrogant man at all. "Hey, team leader Choi Minho, is there something wrong?" Hearing the branch manager's question, Choi Minho stepped forward and answered seriously. "The guy who just had the interview earlier, please let me take charge of him." A strange request that made Lee Sang-sik evaluate Choi Minho with a deep, thoughtful gaze. "It's nothing, director, I just want to try teaching that kid." When he learned of the director's decision to place the newcomer in Choi Minho's team, Cheon Jongbek burst out, yelling, "What? Why? Do I have to be under team leader Choi Minho? Why is that? No, I really don't understand why this is happening. While Group 3 is struggling, why does Group 1 get such a good person?" Lee Sang-sik smiled reassuringly at Cheon Jongbek. "You also see his potential, right? No matter where he goes, he doesn't give up, only says what needs to be said. Even if he's a bit arrogant, that's fine." Having team leader Choi Minho train that kid leaves nothing more to say, but clearly, these explanations couldn't satisfy Cheon Jongbek. "Hey, it's not about Choi Minho training sales staff, but about mass-producing fake Choi Minhos who can boss others around like servants. You know that Choi Minho's team would never reveal their tricks." The branch manager hesitated for a moment but remained firm in his decision. "After all, it's right that Choi Minho can quickly train talented people. Stop talking already, you're not listening." Chan Chongbek grumbled through gritted teeth. "I know you think highly of Choi Minho, but if that kid gets good and overshadows Choi Minho's team, do you think he will just sit still? You've seen it, right? Choi Minho's team won't back down. In the end, one of them will have to leave. Don't you remember what happened last time with Shanghai?" At the mention of Shanghai, the director furrowed his brows and shook his head. "Seriously, I only invited you for a coffee, and I have to listen to all this nonsense?" Chan Chongbek moved closer and yelled at the top of his lungs, "Why? Why? Did I say something I shouldn't have? Can't I even tell you that? To be blunt, if you keep treating Choi Minho's team so well, they won't treat you the same way later. Even as a branch manager, there are shady things you can't see." It was all about making the branch manager hold his head and hurriedly wave his hand. "Oh my God, stop it. I know. Now, please leave." With a tired sigh, John Jongbek composed himself and sternly reminded, "You know, the team led by manager Choi Minho is far more ambitious than you think. So please, think it over carefully before making a decision, because this might be your last chance." Having said that, John Jongbek stood up and left the director's office. It's unclear if the director changed his decision or not, but time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, a week had gone by. In a small, shabby house, Lee Charyang was diligently reading a book, when a voice from the room called out, "Hey, your shirt is here." "Oh, thanks. Next time, let me do it myself." "You're busy too." "It's okay. Since I was ironing my clothes anyway, I did yours too." Noticing the book in her brother's hands, she tilted her head curiously. "What's that?" "Oh, it's a guidebook and technical specifications for cars. It's a detailed description of the car's performance and features, including all the detailed statistics." The little girl approached, staring intently at the rows of dense, incomprehensible figures in the book, sighed, and exclaimed, "Oh my, do we have to memorize all of this, brother?" "Huh, well, I've been reviewing it for a week now, so I'm almost there." Seeing her brother's diligence, the little sister softly expressed her sympathy. "You haven't even started your first day of work yet, and you're already trying this hard?" Hearing these words, Lee Charyong's eyes grew contemplative, and he nodded. Normally, he wouldn't push himself this much, and the company usually only gives a rough idea to new, inexperienced people, then gradually teaches them more each day. This time was different. After the last interview, someone had chased after Lee Charyong and handed him this guidebook and car specification manual. That person was one of the department heads, Chan Chongbek. He had advised Lee Charyong to speak confidently and not do anything meaningless. "Huh, maybe I was a good person in a previous life, so now I receive kindness. That's why I have to work hard. Plus, my sister is also doing 2 or 3 jobs at once." The little sister didn't think it was a big deal since she was only working part-time jobs at the moment. Seeing his sister's silent effort, Lee Charyong smiled encouragingly. "Even so, don't overwork yourself. And this time, it probably won't be so tough for long." The next morning at the Licharyong car gallery, I arrived very early, standing behind the branch manager. Hello, good morning everyone. Let's all gather here. Even though it's Monday, there's nothing special. This is our new employee joining our showroom. He's quite talented and his name is Licharyong. Introduced by the manager, Licharyong stepped forward in front of everyone with a calm demeanor, but inside he felt a bit different, a sense of nervousness as if he had finally become a second-class soldier from the ranks. However, he couldn't understand why he felt so happy. Hello everyone, my name is Licharyong, the new hire starting from today. I'm very happy to become a member of the showroom and I will work very hard. Manager Ly Sang-sich, satisfied, patted Licharyong on the shoulder. Let's all work well together. By the way, our team will be reorganized today. In his previous life, Licharyong was assigned to Group 3 with an empty position and spent a year without any restructuring. He wondered if starting a bit earlier in this life would bring any changes. Alright, one team has 3 people including the team leader, Chan Chong-baek, Team 2 is the new employee Licharyong, and the rest will be Team 3. Okay, the branch manager quickly announced. Today, there will be no separate meeting with the team leader, so new members should meet together and start their work. There was a sense of a different atmosphere around, especially the unwavering gaze of Choi Min-ho. Licharyong couldn't help but be serious because something had changed. Why and he didn't know exactly, but at this moment someone appeared in front of Licharyong with a clear voice. Hello, Licharyong. You look quite tall. Our team too will have a meeting outside, okay? Chan Chong-baek smiled warmly. Although Licharyong didn't understand anything, it was quite interesting. So, their team too, led by Chan Chong-baek, went to a restaurant and chatted together. Let me introduce you, this is the deputy head of the department. Hello, newbie. I am Hyundai, and due to my age and higher position, I will drop the honorifics. And this is Chief Hong, his real name is Bak Hong Chip, not Chief Hong but Chief Bak. After the two of them introduced themselves, they stood up, said goodbye, and left, leaving Licharyong shocked that the meeting ended like this. Well, the meeting is over, you two seem very busy so please go ahead, we have some personal matters to deal with. Waiting for the two of them to leave, Chan Chong-baek immediately jumped towards the seat next to Licharyong. What a confusing situation. Hey Licharyong, I wonder if you like rebellion. Tense from his intimate actions, Licharyong shook his head, no. If not satisfied, I wonder if you're the type to solve things with your fists, also no. Even so, when you're angry, do you act like that? His whispered voice reached his ears, and Licharyong remained silent. Oh my, you look like someone who tends to rebel, what a pity, there's someone I really want to beat to death and I intended to make you do it. I wish you could deal with him for me so I don't get my hands dirty huh. Chan Chong-baek's words, whether joking or sincere, left Licharyong momentarily stunned, wondering if he was being serious. Wow, you have a great body. You must work out a lot, right? Licharyong got goosebumps as he was groped by him. Yes, I used to practice taekwondo before. This feels like a blind date, so confusing. But according to Licharyong's memory, Chan Chong-baek was very good at making others feel uneasy. Hey, newbie, why did you decide to get into sales? Hearing the question, Licharyong looked at the constantly smiling guy in front of him. After a moment of careful thought, he answered. Because selling will make a lot of money, right, boss? And besides, I really like cars. Chan Chong-baek nodded and then shook his head. Here, who doesn't think like that? Is there any special reason that made you like it? The reason, what reason could it be? Memories suddenly flooded back like a moment of recollection. About the nodding dog and the bead chain hanging on the rearview mirror in the car. About the father who always smiled whenever he caught Licharyong's eyes through the rearview mirror. About the image of the mother humming to Luffy tunes along with the warm sunlight. About the little sister sleeping with her head resting on his legs. If at that moment he gently closed his eyes, the sound of the engine would become clearer. The sound of the car engine and the vibration of the car gave Licharyong a comfortable feeling in his body, the family close together under the father's steering and the humming car, that warm feeling was hard to forget. Sitting in the back seat watching his father's profile as he concentrated on driving. My favorite thing is seeing that image. That's why I love cars, he said while looking up at the cars displayed in the exhibition hall in the distance. Just a month ago, he was still the king of selling imported cars nationwide with a brilliant track record. Yet now he's an intern who just sits and watches others sell cars. Truly, life is unpredictable and full of wonders. So if you ask him if he's resentful, the answer is, absolutely not. What's more satisfying than having a young, healthy body, a clear mind, and the maturity of someone in their 20s? Now everyone in the company is present in the car showroom, and John Chung-baek is standing in front of everyone, signaling. Roleplay, please start. Roleplay, also known as role-playing, is a type of role-playing drama. Everyone in the company will act as customers and consultants and proceed as if it's real. This is one of the daily training sessions at the imported car showroom every morning. Yesterday I played the role of a consultant, so today Cha Hongcho will be the consultant. Suddenly called out, Cha Hongcho looked confused while Cheon Chongbek smiled reassuringly. It's okay, just relax. The 10 Honda car line is easy. With no choice, Cha Hongcho moved forward, comforting himself. Alright, I've been here for half a year now. If I work night shifts and sell 4 cars in 3 months, it's not bad, right? Hello, dear customer, he approached the person acting as the customer and bowed politely. I am showroom consultant Taylor Cha Hongcho. The roleplay continued to test Cha Hongcho's abilities. After he finished consulting that customer, a series of new customers, played by the branch manager, appeared and shouted loudly to maintain order. So this is what it's like. In reality, role-playing is public and legal harassment and execution in this company. Of course, enduring the pressure from everyone's probing questions is also a form of training. Although this is a good way to learn about the disastrous mistakes and awkward situations one might encounter when consulting clients, there should be a limit. As Lee Charyong thought about this, Choi Min-ho's cold voice rang out, Cha Hongcho, that's enough role-playing for today, we only need one person to do it. The next person will be Lee Charyong. Hearing his name called, Lee Charyong pondered why he had to role-play. Before he could answer, Chan Chongbek sitting next to him voiced his discomfort. Wait a minute, team leader Choi Min-ho, this doesn't seem right. There's no situation where a newbie has to roleplay within less than a month. Fresh recruits have no experience. Choi Min-ho gave a fierce look and then smiled. One must learn and face things directly. Helping and correcting each other is also part of role-playing. Let him try once, it's not the end of the world. The two department heads, John Jongbek and Choi Min-ho, are talking to each other. It seems like a strange phenomenon, so everyone around is whispering and gossiping. This is the first time everyone has seen them talk to each other. Over here, John Jongbek is still persistently protecting Lee Charyong. He said it's been 2 months since before his shift, so he should start from the 3rd month, right? Isn't that the rule we set from the beginning? What about the rules? There are always exceptions. I asked him to do that, is that not okay? Hearing Choi Min-ho's provocative words, John Jongbek briefly got angry and stood up to say something, but was stopped by Lee Charyong. I understand. So which car should I use? Unexpectedly, you decided to participate in this roleplay, making John Jongbek bewildered while Choi Min-ho looked at you thoughtfully. Lee Charyong felt really sorry for the team leader John Jongbek, but team leader Choi Min-ho had already laid out the red carpet for him, so it would be a pity not to step in. With a gentle smile, Lee Charyong softly asked, Team leader, don't worry. I still don't have a business card. Could you lend me yours? The company's undercurrents started to stir with the arrival of a new employee, so there was no other way but to properly show everyone his own abilities. For the newcomer, this role-playing performance evaluation might be a nightmare, but Lee Charyong is an exception. It's understandable because, among the 11 people present here, who has participated in this role-playing game more than him? Who has sold more cars than him? Of course, no one. So, there's nothing to fear. Chan Chongbek irritably took out a business card from his pocket to lend to Lee Charyong while muttering, alright, we'll talk privately later, okay? Waiting for everyone to be ready, Choi Min-ho answered the initial question. If you need a car, you must use the 10 Hyundai series. This time, the customer will be specialist Cha Hongcho. Everyone, start from the entrance and act like real consultants. Being called out by the team leader, Cha Hongcho stood up and gave a not-so-kind look at the new employee. Don't be too tense. Show me what you have after a month of learning, newbie. Of course, this old fox is just pretending to encourage, and he won't let anyone off the hook, even a rookie. The official role-playing session begins. Lee Cha-ryung approaches the customer and bows politely. Hello, customer. I am a showroom specialist. My name is Lee Cha-ryung. After standing up straight, he hands over his business card, making sure not to cover the brand logo, and presents it in a way the customer can clearly read his name. Even though these are small matters, they start building from here. A friendly smile appears with the familiar question, may I ask if there is a specific person you would like to speak with? Cha Hong-cho, acting as the customer, coldly shakes his head. No, this is my first time at the showroom. Oh, in that case, may I guide you? Is there a specific car model you have in mind? RA Hotel pretends to ponder seriously. Something like a sedan but a bit larger. Lee Cha-ryung smiles. We happen to have such a car. A car larger than a sedan. This is the flagship model of the Taylor line and also a newly launched vehicle. Its name is 1000. Standing and looking at the car for a moment, Cha Hong-cho's eyebrows furrowed with displeasure. This car looks a bit ugly, doesn't it? A difficult customer bluntly criticized it right in front of him. The role-playing area is supposed to train employees to handle situations with many such customers, but normally, for a newcomer, it shouldn't be to this extent. These were the thoughts flashing in Lee Cha-ryung's mind, while on the outside, he remained incredibly calm. Sir, if it looks ugly from that angle, could you take a look from this side instead? Following Lee Cha-ryung's instructions, Cha Hong-cho irritably moved to another angle to view the car. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he seemed surprised to see the car from a new perspective. Under the beautiful lighting of the showroom, the shiny car reflected the sunlight brilliantly. How about now, sir? It's better than before, isn't it? From this angle, you can appreciate all the lines and three-dimensional shapes of the car. The areas reflecting the light can gradually show us different colors. Looking at Lee Cha-ryung's confident and determined face, along with his voice and demeanor, everyone in the room was momentarily stunned, petrified. What's with that expression? He's really good. That's not all. Lee Cha-ryung moved to the other side of the car, standing next to the door. Dear customer, how does it feel when you look over here? Immediately, Cha Hong-cho, as if hypnotized, followed Lee Cha-ryung's instructions. Cha Hong-cho was in a daze, while those outside, especially Cheon Jong-baek, were surprised to realize that Cha Hong-cho had unknowingly fallen into Lee Cha-ryung's lead. Just with gentle words, he was able to naturally guide them. Usually, newcomers would ask them to look here, look there, but of course, it's a big mistake to simply follow orders or commands. Earlier, Cha Hong-cho criticized the car for not looking good, and now he's finding ways to nitpick that the car feels a bit cramped. Maybe because it looks a bit tall and bulky, it somehow seems a bit cheap. Do you feel the same way, Mr. Consultant? Without letting Lee Cha-ryung respond, he opened the car door and got in. Look, once inside, it felt even stranger. Sedans are more comfortable to sit and ride in, but this car is high, so it feels like an off-road vehicle. Outside, Lee Cha-ryung showed no confusion. He kindly asked, Sir, if it's okay, may I adjust the inside of the car a bit? After saying that, he raised his hand to adjust the height of the sunshade while Cha Hong-cho sat beside him, looking contemptuous. Why is it only half open? It's really annoying. Catching a flaw in Lee Cha-ryung's words, with deep eyes staring at the person in the car, the height of the sunshade you mentioned is actually the height of the car you used to drive. When Lee Cha-ryung finished adjusting the sunshade, the view inside the car was completely different. Even Cha Hong-cho himself was surprised by this special change. What is this? The sense of space in this car has changed. Passengers will feel a comfort not found in old sedans. Although very reluctant to admit it, Cha Hong-cho honestly has to say that compared to the old car, after adjusting the sunshade, it is completely different. What do you think, dear customers? The greatest advantage of this car line, right? On the surface, he uses a friendly smile to face everyone, but from the beginning until now, everything that happened has been noticed by Lee Cha-ryung. Because even if he's acting like a customer, he's still Cha Hong-cho. The moment he denied this car was spacious, Lee Cha-ryung knew he was forced to say so. Of course, Cha Hong-cho's deliberate difficulty also made the branch manager very angry. Although troubled, it was far from shaking Lee Cha-ryung. You're still too young, Choi Min-ho. Anyway, team leader Choi Min-ho is like a snake. The youngest one is very straightforward, so this is not just an intention to disrupt things with an excuse, this is a slap. You have to check the opponent's distance and grasp the target accurately, a precise slap before the full-scale battle breaks out. And this move is not aimed at the youngest member, but the main targets are Lee Charyong and branch manager Lee Sang-sik. But instead, he got hit, didn't he? The biter bit back. Even though he pretends not to care, he's probably boiling inside. So, in his excitement, John Jong-baek calls out to the deputy head sitting next to him. What do you think of Chae-kwan, the youngest, and the competitor? I think they're perfect. Yes, they are very diligent. Hearing this, John Jong-baek excitedly whispers, is that so? Meanwhile, after silently observing Lee Charyong's acting process for a while, Choi Min-ho, with an unreadable expression, finally raises his hand to signal the end of the rehearsal. Seeing this, Lee Charyong wonders, is it over already? But the role-playing session hasn't ended yet. Perhaps he couldn't take the counterattack anymore. Choi Min-ho's cold voice resounds, I don't think I need to give an evaluation to the newcomer, do I? Because the role-playing has gone on longer than expected. Just then, Chan Chong-baek, sitting next to him, asked, startling Choi Min-ho, hey, rookie, what's the overall length of that car? Tell me. Well done, team leader Lee Charyong praised inwardly. Being intentionally oppressed by others, he couldn't just stand by without fighting back, right? Silently assessing Choi Min-ho's twisted and unpleasant face, Lee Charyong felt pleased inside. How is it? Does the taste of retaliation feel great? Irritation rising, Choi Min-ho impatiently turned to stop Chan Chong-baek, but Chan Chong-baek's voice overpowered his, hey, rookie, didn't you hear the question? Don't you know the overall length of that car? After saying this, Chan Chong-baek turned and quietly reminded Choi Min-ho that the role-playing wasn't over yet. Ignoring their silent struggle, Lee Charyong calmly answered, the length of this car is 5,100 millimeters. In business, or more specifically, as a salesperson, character is emphasized. In business organizations, employees with good character who have been recognized will be treated specially, but apart from that, the remaining aspect is the rigid superior-subordinate relationship, much like in the military. If you haven't sold a car yet, even if the punch is off, even if it's just pretending, you have to do it well. Because you might even get hit by your superior if you don't bring in revenue. And up to now, after quite a bit of bloody experience, Chan Chong-baek still thinks that way. And the youngest one, in the end, while pondering, Chan Chong-baek's scrutinizing eyes were still glued to Lee Charyong. Good answer. So what's the overall length of the Zio model presented at Dahyun? Sir, the overall length is 5,120 millimeters. Oh, this car is quite long. So what is the strength we need to highlight? Chan Chong-baek seriously asked. They have a longer wheelbase, a total of 27 millimeters longer. And here is the length model of that car design. So you're saying that having a longer wheelbase is better because? Yes, leader. A larger turning radius improves straight-line driving and stability, providing more comfort. After a round of Q&A, Chan Chong-baek stood up from his seat and praised, answering like that is excellent. Still, don't get complacent and keep learning about other cars as well, understood? With a friendly pat on the back to encourage the new employee, Chan Chong-baek absent-mindedly glanced behind him. He caught sight of Choi Min-ho's exceedingly unpleasant, domineering stare. Today's role-playing session ends here. Everyone worked hard, didn't they? Suddenly, as everyone dispersed, Chan Chong-baek's hand reached out in front of Lee Charyong. He beckoned for him to come with him for a moment. A moment later, in a nearby empty room, everyone sat down to chat again while Chan Chong-baek curiously looked at Lee Charyong and asked, hey, our youngest, tell the truth. Is this your second life? Such a strange question momentarily shocked Lee Charyong's mind. He thought he had been found out about something, but Chan Chong-baek's next words made him sigh with relief. Just kidding, because you're so good, I had to ask. Have you ever done business in your previous life? I feel like you haven't even shown half of your abilities yet. Faced with the question, Lee Charyong smiled wryly and shook his head, no, it's not that. Though the team leader Chan Chong-baek usually seems to be talking nonsense, in fact, he's very perceptive and observant. This was also a wake-up call for Lee Charyong to be more cautious in his actions. Hey kiddo, yes, leader. You did well this time, but don't do it like that again, got it? Said Cheon Chong-baek while comfortably leaning back in his chair. Sitting opposite, Lee Charyong nodded obediently. I'm sorry, senior. Do you know what you're apologizing for? Yes, I do, Lee Charyang replied. Suddenly, Cheon Chongbek laughed heartily and repeatedly patted Lee Charyang on the shoulder. It's good that you know. But you still need to keep learning. Alright, now go outside. We'll meet up after we finish this meeting. Suddenly, the deputy leader approached and whispered to Cheon Chongbek. Hey, team leader, why don't I hold him back for once? Cheon Chongbek was puzzled and asked what to hold back. You know that, right? Do you really know, team leader? Oh my god, deputy team leader, do you know what you're talking about? Oh yes, I know, but looking at that clueless face, Cheon Chongbek affirmed that he didn't know anything. Our deputy team leader, that guy is not like a bear like you. Although he looks so young, if he's a fox, he's not an ordinary one, he's a nine-tailed fox. The deputy team leader didn't realize the hidden meaning in Cheon Chongbek's words and naively asked, but team leader, you hate foxes. I clearly remember you don't like foxes and say that whenever you drink. These thoughtless words made Cheon Chongbek's anger surge, hitting the deputy team leader's back continuously. Oh my god, you stupid bear, how can you be so dumb? Stand still, don't run away, why is it all flesh when I hit you? Lose some weight. The next day, Lee Charyang sat down at his desk and suddenly recalled the events of yesterday, especially the conflict between the two team leaders. In his previous life, team leader John Jongbek joined the company earlier, but Choi Min-ho was ahead in terms of position due to his experience, age, and revenue. The reason Choi Min-ho couldn't underestimate John Jongbek was because this was a direct order from the director. Also, in their previous lives, the two of them almost never competed, and Lee Charyang didn't interfere because he was only focused on his sales. Moreover, neither of them were the type to bow down easily, so they didn't need to compete with each other. Therefore, Lee Charyang had never seen them talk to each other in their past lives. So, yesterday's events were truly new, but he didn't want to get involved in company politics this time around. Yesterday, it seemed like he was siding with John Jongbek, but in reality, he was only thinking about making money to pay off his debts. Additionally, he cherished the opportunity to touch and work with the cars he loved. To be able to drive and enjoy them, yes, this time around, life should be about doing business happily, right? And soon enough, the first paycheck will come. The base salary of an imported car salesman is about 1 million won plus commission for each car sold, but currently, he is still in the internship period, so he hasn't sold any cars yet, not even consulting. Anyway, this is Lee Charyang's first paycheck, so eating meat now might be too much, right? While he was contemplating, a loud scream outside the door like a shockwave made everyone in the office jump. Oh my god, what was that? They looked outside in confusion and saw the furious figure of branch manager Lee Sang-sik. Terrifying. How come those kids didn't see anything? Hearing the familiar shouting, Lee Charyang thought to himself, it's been a long time since he heard branch manager Lee Sang-sik scream. Out of 30 days in a month, the manager is kind and friendly for 25 days, a branch manager who usually sides with the employees. But strangely, in just 5 days, he completely changes his demeanor, becoming irritable and frequently furious. Hey, you guys, please invite the customers here. Otherwise, all you get is a signature on the contract. Do you really want to see me this furious? If this keeps up, we're really going to be doomed. The reason he's so angry is because it's the end of the month and they still haven't met their targets, so it's understandable. Hey, what are you guys doing? Get out now. His anger was like a volcanic eruption, causing everyone to panic and run away. At that moment, a kind senior approached Lee Charyang and advised him to go outside and avoid the storm. Indeed, with the first paycheck, one should treat oneself to some beef. I told you to bring the clients here already. The usual song and dance when the end of the month is approaching, but targets still haven't been met. If this keeps up, we're doomed. Wait, is now the right time to run away from here? Immediately under the angry shouts of the director, everyone hurriedly rushed out of the room. In his office, John Jongbek smiled sweetly like a flower, praising, that's right, keep doing that, you must have been startled by the branch manager's shouting, right? Yet you still come here regularly to report and do good work, but it seems you still. Facing the illuminating gaze of team leader Lee Charyang, tilting his head in confusion, what did I do? Currently you don't have a car, right? A sales employee for imports without a car is unacceptable. In the past, Lee Charyang had no car, so in the early days, he faced a lot of difficulties. Even if he had to buy an old, shabby car, he still had to get one, but he ended up going a whole year to work without a car. Compared to others, his business was much slower and harder, but what Lee Charyang is concerned about now is how his team leader knew about this. What's so difficult about this? I saw you at the subway station, my house is also nearby. Hearing that, Lee Charyang didn't question further but smiled and said he'd buy a car soon. That's up to you, it's not important. Suddenly, John Jongbek pulled out a car key. Seeing this action, team leader Lee Charyang seemed to predict something, but his face remained calm and pensive. With one hand, he pushed the key towards Lee Charyang. John Jongbek's voice sounded, "You can't drive the test car yet. Let the newbie who's still in training handle it, to avoid unnecessary gossip. Sometimes, when customers have accidents, the car company still lends a car, so this car is insured." Lee Charyang listened and nodded slightly, thanking him. Seeing his calm demeanor and immediate acceptance of the key, team leader John Jongbek was a bit puzzled. "You're not refusing?" Looking at the car key in his hand, Lee Charyang smiled. "I understand your good intentions. Thank you very much. That's how it should be. This is good, right? It's been tiring having to take the bear and the dog around all the time, but you speak very smoothly, young man." Lee Charyang bows again and says, "I will work hard, team leader." His politeness and humility naturally make John Jongbek very happy. "Yes, go test drive the car. It's parked in the lot behind." Watching Lee Charyang's departing figure, John Jongbek's eyes are filled with a smile. Who knows what he's thinking or planning? Or maybe he genuinely wants to help the newcomer. Only he would know. Lee Charyang places his hand on the basement door leading to the parking lot, then stands there thinking. Lee Sang-sik, Choi Min-ho, and even John Jongbek, this time, he met them 2 years earlier. In 2 years, due to poor business performance, branch manager Lee Sang-sik will have to resign. Choi Min-ho will take over as business manager and branch leader. Meanwhile, John Jongbek will continue to decline without changing jobs, persevering for another 5 years. This is because he feels responsible for the 2 people he mentored, who have poor sales records. Moreover, John Jongbek is not someone who easily changes jobs. Perhaps his stubbornness and refusal to give up are also highlights of John Jongbek's character. In the basement, he found the right car. Lee Charyang opened the door and got in. Compared to John Jongbek's easygoing personality, his car was actually quite clean. He drove the car out of the basement, merging into the bustling city traffic. Lee Charyang carried a sense of eager anticipation as he headed in a certain direction. This would be the start of his first business venture in this life, and it had to be someone special. Very quickly, the car left the city, heading towards the countryside with its rolling hills. After driving for who knows how long, Lee Charyang finally stopped in front of an old house with a wooden door. He rang the bell, but no one came out. Could the owner be away? However, according to Lee Charyang's memory, the owner usually stayed home during the day. Just as Lee Charyang was about to leave, a door inside the house opened, making him stop in his tracks. He looked through the fence and saw that it was indeed the door of this house. An elderly man with a fit body poked his head out and coldly asked who's there. Immediately, Lee Charyang gave a very friendly smile. "The first time meeting your mother at Taylor Motors, it's Lee Charyang here." So what? The indifferent and cold attitude of the old man would make anyone feel awkward, but of course, Lee Charyang was not among them. "Sir, I'm here to greet you. I heard the chairman is planning to buy a car, so Director Choi introduced me." Seeing the polite and proper demeanor of the strange young man, the old man pondered and was no longer as annoyed as before. "All right, come in." "Yes, thank you very much, sir." "So which Director Choi, sir?" "It's Director Choi who does interior decoration at the mansion intersection." Hearing the name, the old man's eyebrows furrowed slightly in curiosity. "Oh, Director Choi Jin-soo. But did I talk to Director Choi about buying a new car? Why don't I remember?" This time, Lee Charyang just smiled without responding because he really didn't know who Director Choi was. "Not long before, you had mentioned Director Choi while drinking." Lee Charyang only remembered the consultation with his seniors in his previous life, and he had noted down everything he remembered from that consultation. The old man didn't dwell on it too much, attributing it to his poor memory, and shifted the topic to Lee Charyang. "So, which car company are you from again?" Moreover, because the memory of the first failure was very intense, Lee Charyong had to take notes very carefully. In his mind, he was thinking of many things, but outwardly he quickly answered each of the old man's questions. I'm from Taylor Motors. Which country is that company from? It's from the United States, sir. Oh, the United States? American products are good, but why did you have to come to my house? When I have time, I'll visit the store to look at the cars. While asking, the old man's indifferent eyes stared at Lee Charyong. You didn't answer the question but smiled and shamelessly asked, Sir, if it's not too much trouble, could I have a glass of water? Seeing the old man's surprised face, Lee Charyong pointed towards the kitchen. It's really dry here, could I please have a glass of water? It was the first time the old man had a guest who proactively asked for water like that. Though he found it strange, he went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. Placing the glass of water on the table, a cold voice rang out, drink up and leave. And when I have time, I'll come by myself to check the car. Thank you very much, sir. Holding the glass of water, Lee Charyong drank it all in one go. Then he casually looked around as if he had seen something, and immediately pointed towards the painting on the back wall. Sir, you seem to be good at golf. I guessed that because of that photo over there. Looking at your posture, you seem like a professional player, and the golf bag too. It seems this game is your hobby, so when Lee Charyong mentioned this topic, you dropped your cold demeanor. Oh wow, looking back then, it was really great. Do you play golf too? Lee Charyong smiled and replied, I like it, but I'm terrible at it. Well, I think you're still too young to like golf, that's wonderful. Taking the opportunity, Lee Charyong smoothly suggested, when I get a bit older, could you teach me to play golf? Hearing these words and looking at the young man in front of him, the old man pondered and then suddenly burst into laughter. But then he stopped, turned away and waved his hand. It's too cold, I'm all stiff. If you've finished drinking, you should go. This was their first meeting in this life, but in a previous life, the old man was Lee Charyong's first failure. He still had that cold demeanor and blunt words. Alright, don't come looking for me anymore. I have nothing to offer you. You should know, because I dislike you, I won't sign the contract. Come back when you're good enough. Yes, wait until you become the king of sales. The words from the old man in the previous life seemed to transcend space and time to be present in this life when Lee Charyong truly became the king of sales. The king of sales has arrived. Handing the old man a glass of water, Lee Charyong felt emotional. I really want to see you again, sir. In the previous life, he didn't keep his promise to his father nor to the old man. It was just an ordinary message announcing the departure of the phone number's owner. A message sent to all the contacts saved in the deceased's phone, but the name of the deceased caught Lee Charyong's eye. When you are in business, you meet many people and make many promises. To maintain continuous relationships, Lee Charyong has his own unchanging principle. That is to prioritize funerals over weddings. Wearing a pitch-black suit and holding a smoking incense stick, prioritizing funerals over weddings because people remember the comfort during sad times more. But above all, after the customers leave, Lee Charyong is still just a salesperson, nothing more, nothing less. That's his principle, and this time his first elderly customer has passed away. I will take full responsibility. If there's any problem, just let me know. That's what Lee Charyong often tells his customers. Furthermore, even after the transaction is completed, he still wants to keep this worthless promise. After the memorial service for the elderly man, Lee Charyong bowed to the son. When the ceremony was over, the son looked up, puzzled because he didn't know who Lee Charyong was. Sir, how are you related to my father? I was his dealer. To be precise, I am a salesperson for a car dealership. The answer surprised the son a bit because he thought he had seen someone else before. While pondering, the son suddenly remembered something from the past and exclaimed in amazement, could it be Taylor Motors? Lee Charyong smiled and nodded with a face that was no longer young. Yes, I am an employee of Taylor Motors, named Lee Charyong. I've now moved to Seoul. In the past, your father and I talked a few times. Hearing the answer, the son gradually regained his composure and jokingly asked, have you become the king of sales yet? Not yet, still far from it. A moment later at the dining table, receiving a cup of hot tea, the young man slowly recounted past events. It was the first time I heard my father talk about Lee Charyong. At that time, I thought it was impossible. A staff member not remembering a customer who had never signed any contract was normal. So when I heard my father say that if Lee Charyang came to visit, he would definitely change his car, I didn't understand anything and laughed a lot. But I forgot to ask for his business card. Even though I'm just a substitute, we will meet again soon, and I also want to buy a car. It was an attractive invitation, but Lee Charyang firmly shook his head, saying no, that was a promise he made to my father, and he was already late. Today he came here just to see him one last time. Mentioning my father, the young man couldn't hide the pain on his face, his eyes filled with tears. My father was really pitiful. I shouldn't have left him alone in Daegu. If only I had taken him to the hospital sooner, perhaps. Regret overwhelmed him, making the young man tremble all over, trying not to cry loudly. The past suddenly flashed in his mind, then was overshadowed by a smile from Lee Charyang in this new life. Seeing you sitting there laughing, the old man asked curiously, "Why are you laughing out of the blue?" "Oh, I'm laughing because this tea smells so good." "Did you make it yourself?" Your compliment surprised the old man once again. "How did you know that?" "You're really talented." "That's amazing," he exclaimed. "Well, I'm almost 30 years old, so I'm not that young anymore." Even though it was their first meeting, instead of keeping a distance, he had to create a familiar feeling as if meeting an old friend. Lee Charyang had to do that because it was the old man's preferred style. In his past life, he didn't know that, so he tried to do many things with the enthusiasm of a new employee. He was like a multi-level marketer, secretly winning over people, not unlike a parrot with phrases like, "Our cars are very good, please buy our cars." However, the old man was very patient, treating him like a junior who needed guidance and giving him quite a lot of useful advice. Not because of Taylor's cars, but because he saw the sincerity in Lee Charyang. Even when you finish writing the contract, the result is still a failure. I really can't understand what he was thinking at that time. Just when his thoughts were wandering, the old man interrupted, "Do you have a lot of free time? Who goes to meet a client without even bothering to hand out a business card like you?" Hearing this, Lee Charyang smiled. Is giving a business card really that important? From now on, if you want to buy a car, just call Lee Charyang. Just think of it this way, from now on I'll be responsible for your car. The old man laughed at the young man's confidence. "What? I don't see anything good about you." And the reason Lee Charyang didn't give the old man a business card is because only new employees who have been with the company for 2 months get business cards that say, "Specialist." Sir, although he may be a bit eccentric, he never deceives others. Even if he can't run a business on his own, he has a very keen eye for people. People say he only does business with those who are meticulous. The things Lee Charyang told the old man are what he understands about the old man's character. Of course, these words were somewhat accurate, so the old man seriously looked at him and questioned, "Did Director Choi tell you?" Gently placing the teacup on the table, he shook his head in denial. Director Choi didn't say anything, but everyone in the architecture industry knows that. A veteran figure in the architecture world, Cho Pan-mok, is you. Knowing that you would later want to buy a car, I wanted to be your consultant, so I rushed over here. If you want to become a salesman, you have to do it this way. What? What is this kid talking about? Why are you so eloquent when you open your mouth? While the old man felt that, Lee Charyang suddenly stood up and walked towards the door. Under the old man's attentive gaze, he took a marble ashtray, brought it closer, and placed it on the table. "Thank you. How long have you seen it there?" "If you want to smoke, go ahead," the old man said as he tapped his cigarette on the side of the ashtray. "Sir, I don't smoke." "Why did you bring the lighter then? But never mind, it doesn't matter, I won't talk to you anymore." It seems the old man is a bit temperamental, so for a short while after, the two of them sat silently on the bench without saying another word. When he was almost done with his cigarette, the old man Chopinmok looked at Lee Charyang again and asked, "How's your car? Is the one that suits me here yet?" "Yes, sir, you'll love it, and I drove it here today, it's outside." "In that case, let's go. Let's go see the car." Watching the old man's back and shoulders, Lee Charyang pondered and then quickly followed him out the gate. A luxurious black car that is modern but not too flashy. The old man walked around the car several times, carefully inspecting it for a long time. After seeing the exterior, he paid attention to the interior design. "So when can your side deliver the car?" "At the end of this month you'll be on the course with your friend, right?" At that time, my friend will pack the car really cool and put it in front of the golf course. The old man was shocked and shouted, how do you know that? Oh my god, are you a fortune teller? Haha, the salesperson promised to become the sales king. It's not much different from a fortune teller, sir, said Lai Chaoyang with a smile, explaining to the old man. When he walked into the house earlier, he noticed 2 golf clubs in the corner, showing that he takes them out to clean and put them right in the living room every day. The date was already circled on the calendar on the wall. In addition, those things were told to him in a past life, but he could only think that to himself, couldn't say it out loud, and just regarded himself as half a fortune teller. Looking at the friendly smile of the young man, Cho Panmok exclaimed, I'm a little scared now. After speaking, the old man shivered and wrapped his arms around himself. Oh my, it's so cold outside. Please bring your contract in here, the sun has set, and it's very dark on the street. Inside the room, there were some heaters, so it was much warmer than outside. Lai Chaoyang slowly took out the contract from the prepared bag. Here it is, sir, please review it carefully and leave the date blank for me. And here, I'll send you the car price and the registration fee. Reading through the contract, Cho Panmok looked up and asked, are you giving me a good price? And when do I have to pay? Can I pay upon receiving the car? Ah, regarding that, please prepare in advance for me. In a few days, I'll contact you, and then you can transfer the money. That will be the decisive moment. One fine day in the car showroom, the branch manager Lai Sang-sich's scream echoed across the blue sky. Seeing the manager's furious look at the sales report in front of him, everyone was very worried. You know, Kubler-Ross once said that the brain goes through 5 stages to accept death. First is denial, then anger, followed by bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. Usually, on the last day of the month, he would give up like those who have accepted death, but this time he resolutely refused to move from anger to bargaining. At this rate, it could be fatal, and I don't understand how we are just 1 car short. As Chan Chongbek whispered on the statistics board, we are currently 1 car short of this month's target. But honestly, isn't that too much? It took forever to sell 1 car, Cha Hongcho grumbled from the side. As soon as he finished speaking, a hard knock landed on his head, making a lump rise up. The branch manager approached, yelling angrily, Cha Hongcho, if you don't know what to say, then don't say anything. How many months have you been here and still don't know that? So, why does the branch manager go crazy like this every month? Just one reason, commission, of course. Commission is an important amount alongside basic salary and is a goal for many employees in the company. Taylor's headquarters has a system where if you meet the set target, you get a commission. The headquarters always gives the branches unclear high targets, and when they fail, what more can be said? Let's calculate. Currently, our Daegu showroom averages rarely more than 30 cars per month, right? Even if we sell 20-100 cars at around 40 million won each, the monthly revenue would be about 800 million to 1 billion won, with an average commission rate of 2%, equating to 20 million won. So, if we keep missing quarterly and annual targets, what then? That's almost 100 million won lost, including the branch manager's bonus. Hearing this explanation from Senior Cha Hongcho, the huge amount left him bewildered. But as far as Lai Chaoyang knows, money is just a part of this story. The scariest thing is the self-assessment of the branch manager's abilities. As far as he remembers from his previous life, the director of the main office, Tae Lo, is. Just thinking about it, Chan Chongbek suddenly approached from behind, resting his head on Lai Chaoyang's shoulder. Ugh, not now. Suddenly, Chan Chongbek turned to look at his 2 subordinates and asked, you guys really didn't sell a single car? No, team leader, we didn't sell any, they replied. This made Chan Chongbek frustrated and helpless. Oh my god, what can I expect here? Suddenly, a terrifying aura emanated from behind, startling team leader Chan Chongbek. Before he could react, the branch manager erupted like a volcano. What did you say? The targets for team leaders have increased by 1 each month, so what the hell are you guys doing here? Right, isn't it? I'm talking to all of you. I keep getting sales employees who don't know how to sell cars. Damn it. In a fit of madness, an arm from behind grabbed the branch manager tightly, trying to restrain him, then a chanting sound rose. Branch manager, follow me. Namo Amitabha Buddha, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Namo Amitabha Buddha, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. Strangely, the madness in the branch manager's heart was gradually dispelled like a deflated balloon. Finally, he exhaled a weary sigh and, after a long pause, gave an order. Alright, the summary for this month is over. Anyone who signs a contract and delivers a car today will get an immediate bonus of 1 million won. Immediately, everyone in the office was so excited by the 1 million won that they were stunned. Selling one more car today is enough. Is that clear? In the director's loud shout, everyone around loudly responded, "Yes, sir." Seeing their excited demeanor, it's true that nothing motivates people like money. Under the huge sum of money dangling like a carrot, everyone was focused on scanning the customer list for a chance to sell another car. It's now 10 a.m. according to the wall clock. Lee Charyong had been glancing at the clock to keep track of the time. Seeing the right moment, he took out his phone and dialed a number. "Hello sir, it's Lee Charyong." On the other end of the phone, the old man's raspy voice asked, "When will the money be transferred?" "Ah yes, sir, you're at the golf course now, right?" "Yes, the last hole of round 2. You understand what I'm saying, right?" "Yes, I understand. I'll be there on time." Just as he hung up the phone, the curious face of team leader John Jongbei popped up right in front of Lee Charyong, startling him. Before he could react, John Jongbei turned into a whirlwind, circling around the long table and pressing close to his side. Hey, who were you talking to? And what's this about a money transfer? Don't tell me you just sold a car, did you?" Seeing the eager, excited expression of the team leader, Lee Charyong nodded slightly, confirming the assumption. Immediately, the team leader's entire face flushed red, like a girl experiencing her first love. But wait, he glanced around and whispered, "We can deliver the car now, right?" "Yes, deliver the car from the showroom's warehouse. If you want the car showroom to sell well, the warehouse must always prepare the cars in advance. Of course, the latest and most famous models recently are ready, including the one that old man wanted. But how do you know what we have in our warehouse? And what about the contract money?" "Sir, the payment is in cash, one time and right now." Receiving the confirmation, Chan Chongbek couldn't hide his excitement. In the end, he had to bite his lip hard to stay calm. Then, as if remembering something, Chan Chongbek hurriedly picked up the phone and dialed. Wait, now is exactly the time to become a hero. But just a small mistake can make you a villain instantly. Very quickly, the internal phone line was connected. "Hello, Miss Minhai, this is team leader Chan Chongbek. Can you check the company's account right now? Has the money been received yet?" Yes, that's right, the customer is Chopan Mok, right?" Lee Charyong nodded in confirmation from the side. After confirming that the money had been received from the customer's account, Chan Chongbek went crazy and slammed the phone down on the table, shouting loudly. "Damn it, this handsome guy. A sudden joy, and of course in business the sales rate is the most important, but in desperate moments, even a small action can have a great impact." A small action made Lee Charyong the hero in today's office while the branch manager was moved to tears. Isn't this a kind of chosen one? Of course from the beginning Lee Charyong had anticipated this, and this was the opportunity he had been waiting for. The hot achievement of the new employee made everyone around gather to ask Lee Charyong questions, but there was one exception sitting in the corner of the room. That was Choi Miho. He was still reading the newspaper, not caring about anything around and showing no concern. A moment later at the golf course where Lee Charyong had arranged to deliver the car to the customer. Lee Charyong and his team leader drove all the way here. "Hey, I've been here before. You go load the car quickly and come back." Following the team leader's instructions, Lee Charyong nodded and thanked him. With a cigarette in one hand, Cheon Jongbek laughed. "Our youngest member doesn't seem like the youngest at all. Besides bringing you here, what else can I help you with?" "No, don't say that. You've helped a lot already." In fact, Lee Charyong had nothing to do the whole time. The car delivery documents were handled by the manager. The car registration procedures were taken care of by Director Jun. Even the owner of the window tinting service worked very quickly. This is all the work that needs to be done before the car leaves the workshop and is delivered to the customer. Everything runs smoothly thanks to team leader Chan Chongbek's guidance. Although Lee Charyong can do it alone, it's clear that things are much easier today. Just as he was lost in thought, the sound of a car in the distance brought him back to reality. At this point, team leader Chan Chongbek had helped him a lot. For a newcomer, this is truly unbelievable. Watching the approaching truck, Lee Charyong felt like he was seeing his bright future. After getting out and talking to Lee Charyong, the truck driver got back into his seat. "By the way, if we go inside now, what will happen at the golf course? Don't worry, I called ahead so there shouldn't be any problems. I heard Lee Charyang say that Cheon Chongbek was surprised and wondered if I had even called the golf course. Yes, because they might not like unfamiliar cars driving onto the premises, so I had to call ahead. But why do we have to deliver the car to this golf course? Lee Charyang mysteriously didn't answer directly, only vaguely said that it was some kind of program. Cheon Chongbek didn't understand and was about to ask more, but at that moment, a crowd in the distance started to approach. Oh, they arrived right on time. He saw the old man Cho Panmok and the old man saw him too. Facing the approaching customers, Cheon Chongbek dropped his casual demeanor and bowed seriously. Alright, driver, now please lower the car. Under Lee Charyang's command, the car was gradually lowered to the ground in front of the old man and his friends. Oh my, is that the new car the director just bought? Today, he polished it a lot more than usual. There must be a reason for it. By the way, is this how they deliver cars to customers nowadays? I mean, not long ago, I had to drive my new car home myself. Old man Chopin's friends gathered around the car, chatting endlessly and looking very interested. Nice car. Where did you get it? Ah, this is from the Taylor brand, right? Is it an American car? Seeing his friends so excited, Chopin smirked proudly. It's just a test drive. As long as it runs well, it's fine. Watching the arrogant old man in front of his friends, Lee Jaryong stood behind and smiled. Nowadays, salesmen going along with troublemakers aren't common anymore. Because the concept of service is still vague, people pay less attention and focus only on the value of the car. Most sedans that users are familiar with look very cool. Compared to that, SUVs are often used by older people for work. That's what's still on the customers' minds. It's not that they don't have money, but they still feel left behind. That's why older people decide to change cars. And now, Lee Jaryong has hooked a bunch of customers at the golf course. The eyes of an old man sparkled as he pointed at the car and asked Lee Charyong, "Oh my, if I buy a car for you in the future, will you bring it here like this?" Before he could finish, another old man hurriedly interjected, "Young man, ignore him, he just got a new car not long ago. But I am a big potential customer here. If a customer buys a car, can you deliver it to where they want?" Facing the excited old men, Lee Charyong just stood there silently smiling. What he targeted in the customer's psychology wasn't the car, but the accompanying services. However, if he got too excited and answered yes, he would only end up being a third-rate salesperson because special services are inherently not meant to be widespread. So Lee Charyong shook his head before everyone's expectant eyes. Today, my customer has chosen a car, so how can I sell the same one to their acquaintance? If the elderly say it's okay, I wouldn't know, but if the car service is exactly the same, I'm sorry everyone, but that's not allowed. I must respect my customer's uniqueness. Mr. Cho Panmok listened to you and widened his eyes, then laughed loudly and excitedly, this kid, as for me, I don't need to go, how can a salesman not sell cars, they are all my friends, so you just do the same. But if that's the case, then I'm sorry. Lee Charyong lowered his attitude significantly and reasoned to the point that Mr. Cho Panmok's nose was about to explode. Hey kid, that's enough. And you guys, take this Lee Charyong's phone number, I'm sure everyone will end up like me, yes, since you said so, I will do it. Lee Charyong timely agreed, so did you all hear that? He has agreed. Feeling very pleased and proud in front of his old friends, after receiving the car, Mr. Cho Panmok also handed Lee Charyong an envelope full of money. Lee Charyong waved his hand to refuse, "No, I'm fine." "Oh, come on, take it. This is my tip for you. I must admit, your service is very smart. This is the money I won from betting with these people here." The old man kept insisting, so Lee Charyong had to accept the money, gratefully saying, "I accept with gratitude. From beginning to end, you always spoke politely and bowed," making the old man more and more pleased, smiling continuously. Turning customers into friends starts by treating them as family, and unexpected surprises will follow. On this side, Lee Charyong and the old man were happily chatting, while behind them, Cheon Chongbek stood frozen, observing everything. His mouth gaped wide enough to fit 15 eggs. Oh my god, this is so touching. That evening, the office gathered to dine at a delicious beef restaurant. The branch manager couldn't stop laughing upon hearing the news of the car sale. Haha, Lee Charayang, you've worked hard today. Amidst everyone's laughter mixed with the sizzling sound of meat on the hot grill and the mouth-watering aroma, their stomachs growled. It's just my good luck, sir. Come on, don't be modest. A salesperson is a luck engineer, and you've done great. Not only was the branch manager enthusiastic, but even Chan Chongbek was overly enthusiastic. You're really lucky, Lee Charayang. Let's stay together for a long, long time, haha. The atmosphere around is really suitable for relaxing and letting oneself go with alcohol, but suddenly Lee Charayang remembers something that makes him pensive. Then he turns to the team leader and whispers, asking to leave early and not join the second round with everyone. Can't you go? That's a pity. Alright, be careful not to catch their eye, understand? Sneak out, Chan Chongbek quietly advises. Yes, thank you very much, team leader. I'll go now. Sneaking out of the room, he doesn't immediately leave the restaurant but goes to the reception to order a few more dishes to take away. Yes, 6 servings of grilled beef to go, please. After giving instructions, he checks the money in the envelope the old man gave him and then speaks to the staff again. No, make it enough for 10 people, please. Carrying the bag of food, Lee Charayang walks down the narrow streets of his neighborhood. He used to, more precisely, before he returned to this life. At that time, he was extremely insensitive. Because of that personality, Lee Charayang couldn't fully understand his father's heart. He always apologized whenever he came over to start a conversation, and he kept crying continuously like that. Crying too much made his body even more exhausted, and Lee Charayang thought it would be better to pretend not to know. Remove any causes, pay off any debts. Every time he did that, his father would jump up and leave his seat. Would he return as the respectable father he knew before? His previous life's thoughts were vague and very simple. But now it wasn't like that anymore. While contemplating, Lee Charayang looked towards the brightly lit window. There, his mother and sister were washing clothes together. Both of them noticed that the son and the older brother had returned, so they quickly rushed to open the door. Oh my gosh, what is this? Beef, right? Oh my, where did you get the money to buy it? Lee Charayang looked at his father as he entered the room and answered, I just received it. Father, I'm home, he said as he entered the room and sat down next to his father. Father, sit up and join everyone for a meal. On the rooftop of the building, they gathered together with fresh, delicious beef. Yes, to Lee Charayang, family meant gathering together at night to eat. There were both expectations and disappointments. Singing while releasing all the sadness in my heart. This world has so much suffering, being alone is very tiring, so let's share with each other. Everyone has to go through their own difficulties and challenges. Even so, whenever you feel down, try leaning on each other. Dad, the suffering in this world will always drag you down to the bottom. But even if it's forced, I'll keep you here in this ordinary life. Even with the misfortune of a 20 billion debt, 200,000 won at this moment can make us happy with our family. That's enough. Early the next morning, Lee Charayang's little sister happily said goodbye to their mother. I'm leaving, I love you both very much, be careful on the road, my daughter. As soon as she opened the door, Lee Charayang in his suit stepped out to stop her. Wait a minute, let's go together. Walking behind her brother, the younger sister wondered, isn't today your day off? Yeah, it is, I just went to work to clear my head. By the way, how's work going for you lately? Nobody's been bothering you at the shopping mall, right? Hearing her brother's concerned questions, she burst out laughing. What's that about? Besides, I'm working at the cafe today. Really? So what about the guys at the cafe who tease you for being pretty? She blinked, wondering, do they? Of course they do, my little sister is beautiful. Although everyone in the family usually calls her a fool, the truth is, objectively speaking, she's quite beautiful. Before the family moved to Daegu because of a massive debt, she was preparing to become an actress. Even now, without makeup, she still shines. While walking and chatting, the two siblings head to the mall where the younger sister will work today. Your cafe is near the mall too, isn't it? Yeah, I'll go ahead. See you later. Watching his sister wave goodbye, Lee Charayang squints, noticing something. Immediately, he steps closer, grabs her arm, and examines it carefully. Hey, what's wrong with your hand? Caught by her brother, she quickly pulls her hand back and smiles awkwardly. It's nothing, really, just a small crack. Seeing her like this, Lee Charyang remained silent and pensive for a moment before speaking again. You've been washing a lot of glasses, haven't you? Working at the cafe, right? Hey, how did you know? As soon as she finished speaking, her brother pulled her straight into the shopping center. Huh, brother, where are you taking me? Slow down a bit. A moment later, she looked at the box of precious skin cream in front of her and screamed, Are you crazy? Why did you buy this? Ignoring his sister's protest, Lee Charyang squeezed the cream onto her hand and instructed, Don't be stingy because it's expensive. After work, apply a lot of it. If you run out, I'll buy more for you, so don't try to save it. Her brother's caring and protective gesture made her very touched, but she couldn't hide the concern on her face. Given our family's current situation, is this okay? It's not okay to buy such expensive things. Hearing his sister mumble, Lee Charyang lowered his head, then turned and walked away a moment later. Don't worry, little girl. At this level, it's fine. Watching his brother's departing figure, she asked, Hey, where are you going? To make money, of course. Returning to the car showroom where Lee Charyang works, Hello, manager, I'm here. Seeing the new employee's arrival, Lim Chunseop, the team leader of Group 1, asked in surprise, What? Didn't you get the notice that today is a day off? Yes, I did, but I came to help a classmate. Huh, this kid is really diligent. Team leader Choi Minho is over there, go say hello and then come back. Following the instructions, Lee Charyang approached Choi Minho and politely bowed, Hello, team leader. Without lifting his gaze, Choi Minho coldly replied, All right. Seeing this, Lee Charyang quietly stood there waiting. Although he didn't expect much from this person, perhaps because it's the weekend, they didn't intend to teach him anything. One of the bad habits of sales organizations is forcing new employees to work on weekends. The reason for this is also due to the business system not being well organized. On weekdays, there's customer hospitality, miscellaneous tasks like parking for customers, welcoming, and light snacks. But on weekends, Lee Charyang has to work the night shift, and new employees have to work on weekends under the guise of training. However, this time, Lee Charyang volunteered to come, so he didn't complain. Alright, there's nothing for you to do at the moment, so just go rest in the office first. I'll call you if there's anything, he said. He hadn't finished speaking when the manager fell silent upon seeing a bright yellow car driving into the store's premises. Immediately, the manager's calm demeanor changed to panic. Oh my god, is she coming again? Lee Charyang wondered, Do you know her, manager? Sometimes, no, she's a regular customer here. As long as she comes to see the car once, she will test drive it all day, according to what the manager said. From the bright yellow car, a woman with white hair stepped out. She looked quite old but her demeanor was extremely captivating. Hello, I heard there is a new car launched, right? I wonder if I can test drive it now. Although feeling annoyed inside, he had to always smile in front of customers, so the manager pushed Lee Charyang back. Yes, dear customer, please wait a moment, we will guide you right away. Then he hurried inside and called out Choi Minho. Team leader, the old lady with white gloves is here again. This time it's your turn, what should we do? Hearing that, Choi Minho scratched his head and wondered why no one is in charge of her. Yes, I don't even know who she is. She is very strange because she often comes here to test drive all the new cars. Among the employees here, no one hasn't consulted her except for the newcomer. But the newcomer already tried selling one, so it's fine, right? Honestly, she's not really a customer. Clearly just a strange customer who enjoys test driving and then leaves. How about we let her practice driving? Choi Minho coldly continued reading his newspaper, do as you see fit. At this moment, the department head sighed in relief and turned to whisper to Lee Charyang, Don't worry about that old lady, just let her test drive to her heart's content and guide her moderately. Hearing this, Lee Charyang nodded, remembering, yes, but can I really consult? If there's a contract, the current person in charge is. Before he could finish his sentence, Choi Minho's irritated clicking of his tongue interrupted, selling a car? You think business is that easy? Of course, catching the unkindness in his eyes, Lee Charyang calmly stared back. Oh my, he doesn't know anything, team leader Choi Minho. Don't get angry, just read the newspaper. We'll go ahead. A moment later in the hallway, the department head still wasn't reassured and instructed for a long time before taking out the car key. This is your first time taking a customer for a test drive, right? Take this car key. Suddenly starting real practice, so I didn't expect much, but don't make any mistakes, understood? Alright, the customer is waiting, go quickly. From beginning to end, no matter what everyone around said, Lee Charyang remained undisturbed because he knew how to deal with that old lady. In his previous life, Lee Charyang joined the company for 4 months before he met the old lady, just like this time, becoming her guide. At that time, sitting in the car while the old lady was test driving, Lee Charyang was extremely worried because it took too much time. Sir, how do you feel? This car handles very smoothly, and with its overall length being so long. Listening to the young man's advice, the old lady smiled, looking satisfied. Very smooth indeed. I really like it. So, I'd like to take it for another ride. Can I go a little further? Reluctantly, Lee Charyang agreed. It seemed everything could end with a beautiful contract, but in the following days, Lee Charyang felt like he was in an ice pit when he couldn't reach the old lady. Despite calling non-stop, all he got was a busy signal. At that moment, Cha Hongcheol's scream echoed beside him. Hey, Lee Charyang, when will you get the contract? You said it would be today. I heard you let her test drive 3 times already, so why hasn't she signed yet? Lee Charyang, scolded by his senior, hurriedly apologized, but at that moment, a delighted laugh sounded from behind him. Hey, Cha Hongcheo, stop it, he might start crying. Be gentle. And you, Lee Charyang, don't worry. That old lady is a professional test driver. She's always been like that, so don't stress yourself out. But this time, will she sign the contract with you again? Is this a privilege of someone who has lived another life? Sorry for keeping you waiting. I'll be your guide today. Hello, I'm Lee Charyang from the Taylor Car Exhibition in this city. The old lady looked back at the young staff member with a gentle gaze. It's okay, because I came without an appointment, so waiting a bit is no problem. I've already had a look around. If you could introduce me to it, that would be great. Lee Charyang nodded happily. Of course, I'd be glad to. First, please sit in the driver's seat of this car. He let the customer sit in the driver's seat to try out the car. Lee Charyang stood by, gently explaining each advanced feature of the car. A moment later, the old lady stepped out of the car, pleased, and praised the employee for explaining things so well, saying she now knew it was a good car. Yes, if you try driving it, you will know even better. Mentioning the test drive, a gleam of joy appeared in her eyes. So, can I take it for a test drive right now? Without hesitation and without any discomfort, Lee Charyang, with a smile in his eyes, immediately suggested, yes, I'll bring the car in front of the showroom. Please take your time to come out. The car was driven over, and the old lady opened the door and got into the driver's seat but was slightly surprised when Lee Charyang opened the back door and got in. Why is the employee sitting in the back? Madam, because it might interfere with your test drive. In Korea, our consultants are required to sit in the back. If you feel uncomfortable, I can move to the front. At first, the old lady was a bit puzzled but quickly regained her composure and shook her head. No, it's fine. Anyway, I feel a bit shy about test driving in Korea. It's over. The old lady adjusted the car mirror so she could see Lee Charyang's face in the back. Then she spoke in a voice so soft it was barely audible, like she was whispering, "Thank you for noticing." In his previous life, Lee Charyang heard that a year later she bought a car, and as expected, it was a Japanese brand, while the yellow sports car that looked like a frog she used to drive was a German brand. Although Stefan was an old model, it was a German car worth more than 100 million won. But what worried Lee Charyang the most was the confession of a Japanese car dealer. When the old lady visited the showroom, she always intended to buy a car, not just a test drive. Breaking out of his thoughts, Lee Charyang fastened his seatbelt and asked, "Which city in Germany are you from?" "Okay, how did you know that?" Lee Charyang pointed to her car, "Thanks to Stefan." "Stefan? Are you talking about my car?" "Yes, it seems you've lived in Germany for quite a long time, and your pronunciation is just like a native." The old lady laughed. "Oh ho, just from that you figured it out?" "Yes, observing customers is our basic requirement. And there's another reason, your test drive. In the US, it's common for test drivers to run away with the car, so car companies only allow very short test drives. Because the Korean imported car consulting systems are influenced by American brands, the consultant has to accompany. Right from the beginning, when I sat in the back, I already felt reassured, and when I told her the reason, she was very pleased, so I somewhat guessed. The old lady listened attentively to the employee's explanation and then exclaimed, "You're really amazing, it seems like I didn't say much, but you understood a lot." "Yes ma'am, from now until the end of the test drive, if there are no questions, I will remain silent as if not here. You can test drive as much as you like and then return." After saying this, Lee Charyong caught a satisfied smile on the customer's face, because she is a difficult customer who doesn't easily reveal her true intentions. But the reason a customer continuously enters the car showroom is that they intend to buy a car. It's a basic premise but easy to forget when they repeatedly request test drives without buying any car. Fortunately, she asked questions with interest, and through the natural conversation, Lee Charyong could understand her, and earlier he showed that I am very interested in her. If you don't say it like that, she'll think you're sitting in the back because you're too lazy to deal with her. At this point, everything is on track and just needs a little more effort. You have to observe every card she plays, examine each one carefully. The old lady started driving the car while the head of Group A stood inside the showroom, looking through the glass window, saw Lee Charyong and shouted in confusion. "What the heck, the youngest one, that crazy guy. Why are you sitting in the back seat instead of next to the customer?" Flashback to when the two were sitting in the brand new car, Lee Charyong was still pondering that this customer is the type who remains silent after hearing advice. If you think about it in reverse, disappearing like that means she's not satisfied with the consultant. Back then, Lee Charyong wasn't yet used to being rejected or ignored by customers. Not to mention, she'll visit the gallery again another time, so the staff need a lot of courage each time she comes. While enduring this embarrassment, the most important thing to focus on is why she wants to change cars. Driving a bit down the street, the polite old lady asked the employee, "Can I listen to some music?" Then, when Lee Charyong nodded, she asked him to take a CD out of her bag. Following her instructions, he put his hand into the handbag and found a CD in a clear case. Seeing this item, Lee Charyong's eyes paused for a moment but quickly returned to normal. He pulled out the car's CD tray and gently placed the disc into it. Soft music filled the small space like a gentle breeze soothing the soul. "This is Aria on the G string, isn't it?" "That's right, you seem to know classical music well." "Yes, I remember this song often appeared in an old movie, a romance about two main characters who transcend time and communicate via radio." Hearing him speak, the old lady enthusiastically continued, "Oh, recently I watched that movie." "Right, or should I play another song?" "If you like watching movies, have you listened to this song?" the employee asked. With a press of a button, a different melody played in the car, bringing a very cheerful look to Lee Charyong's face. "You can't not know this song. This is the song, River of the Moon in the Morning," said both the young and old people almost simultaneously. Then both of them laughed heartily together. It's a good thing this is a song that Lee Charyong knows. The reason is that to become an experienced salesperson, you need a broad and deep knowledge base, because every day they have to engage in many conversations with customers of various personalities and preferences. Understanding a bit about the topics customers want to talk about helps shorten the distance. Once the distance is shortened, car consulting becomes much easier. While he was lost in thought, the melody of the song changed again. This time, Lee Charyong paused for a moment to recognize the song. His eyes widened in surprise as he heard the melody "Ba Bam Ba Bam." Yes, it couldn't be wrong, this was the theme song of the movie Fragrance. A European movie, if translated, its title would be a very small difference. Thinking of this, Lee Charyong smiled a faint smile that was hard to notice unless you looked closely. By now, he had gathered all the necessary clues. The last thing to check was the hand inside that glove. The old woman always wore gloves and never revealed her hands, so Lee Charyong had to wait for an opportunity. That opportunity didn't come until the test drive ended and they returned to the shop. "Ma'am, would you like something to drink?" The old woman shook her head and pointed towards the restroom. "I'll go to the restroom for a moment and come right out." Lee Charyong responded with a friendly smile. "Yes, ma'am, if you look behind the stairs on the left, you'll see the restroom there." "That's right, this is the opportunity you've been waiting for." Unexpectedly, the old lady proactively came into view. A moment later, after you placed the warm glass of water on the table, she came out of the bathroom. Lee Charyong approached and handed her a towel, explaining that their company hadn't yet placed a dryer in the showroom. "Oh my goodness, thank you so much." The old lady used the towel to dry her wet hands, and Lai Charyong took the opportunity to observe her hands with those dark spots. Seeing her hands confirmed Lai Charyong's suspicions once again, and indeed it was so. Sitting down at the table opposite each other once more, Lai Charyong initiated the conversation. "Stephen really is a great car." The old lady nodded. "Yes, that's right, I liked it so much that I brought it to Korea. Did you know that in the 90s, elephant sales dropped significantly until your car was launched, becoming a major turning point? At that time, Stephen's management team abandoned other models and focused on developing the Vauxhall. The first lightweight cooling engine was created by placing the engine horizontally behind the driver's seat. They made a masterpiece with almost perfect balance. Yes, that's right, especially with its compact but rounded and appealing design. Her voice became nostalgic and continuous as she spoke about her beloved car. "Did you know, young man, when I drove in Germany, I was very happy. Even when driving slowly, the convertible allowed the cool breeze to flow in, it was truly wonderful. But, there's something else." Catching on that her voice had softened, Lai Charyong smiled and said, "In Korea, you can feel the same way as in Germany, can't you? Don't you feel happy?" Clearly, his words touched her heart, leaving her wide-eyed in confusion, wondering how this young man knew. By now, the defensive walls in the customer's heart had softened. It was now his turn to share his story. Lai Charyong spoke. The elderly lady wearing white gloves wasn't the type to be knowledgeable about cars, but more importantly, she was a person of deep emotions. An object like a car carries a unique national identity. Each brand has its own characteristics representing each country. For example, in Germany, except for the Autobahn, all roads are meticulously maintained. However, the roads are not always as straight as in the US. The narrow corners in the heart of the city are maintained very carefully and kept clean. German car nationalism is created by combining two characteristics, sturdiness and high efficiency. The German cars on German streets are very sturdy and highly efficient, right? The old lady listens in silence as if remembering some past time. Your eyes slowly close, reminiscing, then you answer, "That's right. That's right, young man. In Korea, the speed bumps on the road make my driving experience unpleasant. The roads are often congested, and there are so many traffic lights that it makes me dizzy. So, the car I was used to driving in Germany became very shaky when I drove it here. After returning to Korea, I no longer felt comfortable driving." Finding the key point, Lai Charyong felt secretly delighted and thought that perhaps the 10 Hyundai would bring her joy when driving. Taking the opportunity, Lai Charyong changed the subject back to the car they had just test-driven. "Did you feel comfortable driving it earlier?" The old lady nodded happily. "It seems all right." "Yes, because there's a difference in seat position, and since the car body is higher than a sedan, you might find it inconvenient. Ensuring the front view is much easier, so you'll feel safer in Korea. And later, you can easily put your cello in the trunk." "Oh, I almost forgot, you're a cellist, right?" The young driver's judgment astonished the old lady, who exclaimed with disbelief. "Oh my goodness, how did you know about this?" "Huh." Lai Charyong had to explain his detective-like observations to her. First, the songs she had listened to in the car. The calluses on her gloves, all signs pointed to the cello. Compared to having the cello on the passenger seat and it shaking as it does now, she would feel more at ease if it were securely placed in a smooth-riding car. The instrument is more important to a performer than anything else in the world. "Oh my, you even noticed that? That's amazing. Huh, the song I heard on the disc earlier was performed by you, right? Today was supposed to be my day off, but I deliberately came to the office. It was indeed fortunate that I decided to come in today because the sound I heard earlier was such a happy tone that it made us forget we were on a test drive." Sincere praise from the bottom of my heart. The old lady clearly felt it, so she was happier than ever. "Thank you for the compliment." After finishing the test drive, the old lady left, and Lai Charyong respectfully saw her off. As soon as she left, the department head ran out like King Kong and shouted, "Hey, you there. From now on, you have to sit in the front seat during test drives, got it?" Of course, it was an emergency, so I didn't want to get mad at you. But isn't this common knowledge that everyone should know? It's basic common knowledge. You're not a director, for heaven's sake. You're sitting like that, Aren't you afraid customers will feel uncomfortable and that it'll reduce the brand's credibility and quality? While the department head was shouting, Lee Charyong calmly said, "Boss, she already signed the contract today." "What did you say?" "Say it again." Faced with the stunned expression of the department head, Lee Charyong repeated once more, "The white car she test drove earlier, even the down payment. Everything has already been paid for, and the contract is all signed." Now the department head was speechless, unable to say a word, until he regained his composure and shouted, "What?" Time quickly passed, and the next morning arrived. While holding a broom to sweep the store, Lee Charyong greeted the young employee with a "Good morning." "Ah, yes, good morning." The young employee, with his nerdy glasses, looked at Lee Charyong awkwardly, trying to say something. But before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by a cutesy, goosebump-inducing voice. "Hey, our little gold nugget." Chan Chongbek rushed in from the door with an excited and passionate look like a gust of wind. He was about to hug Lee Charyong, but luckily Lee Charyong dodged to the side. However, the strange man still looked at him as if he were a walking gold bar. "I heard from manager I'm Chun-sup. You did well yesterday. Getting a vacation but working hard like this deserves praise, right? By the way, did you tell others that you signed the contract yesterday?" Lee Charyong shook his head at the gentle question. "Oh, so currently the people who know you signed the contract are the sales director, Minhai, manager I'm Chun-sup, and Choi Minho, right?" "Yes, that's right, team leader." That's good. If you say it yourself, it won't look as good. Let me add fuel to the fire to make it explode." A little later, in the office, the sales director stood before everyone, extremely happy. This month is crucial as the first quarter results will be tallied. Although it wasn't a file approved by headquarters, the higher-ups have already allowed it. The number one sales figure this quarter is 5 million won, an ideal number, and among employees who have worked for the company for less than a year, the highest sales are 1 million won. Alright everyone, let's work really hard for the new month. Obviously, everyone in the office is quite happy because they achieved last month's target. The branch manager then turned to the person in charge and said, "Place a blue stone on our youngest member's name." This request from the manager left everyone in the office bewildered and startled. What? It's only been 10 minutes into this month and a car has already been sold? Oh my god, when did the youngest member sell it? What happened? Amid everyone's confusion, Chan Chongbek mysteriously answered on behalf of Lee Charyong, "It was yesterday, on his day off. He sold a 10 Hunter to the old lady with white gloves." What? The one who often test drives but never buys? Oh my god, that old lady? I've tried everything, but that kid managed to sell to her. The people in Lee Charyong's group cheerfully gathered around him to celebrate while others kept their thoughts to themselves. Typically, this guy gave Lee Charyong a sly glance and then asked Cha Hongcho in front of him, "Don't you have any thoughts, Cha Hongcho? Oh my, look at you. If you keep this up, won't the newcomer steal the top spot in the first quarter?" These words immediately made Cha Hongcho uncomfortable, planting a seed of jealousy towards Lee Charyong. After the morning work hours, Lee Charyong went to a seemingly humble restaurant. Looking at the warm bowl of hangover soup in front of him, his heart felt sweetly warmed. The warm, spicy flavor exploded in his mouth, leaving a lasting impression on diners. This restaurant was one that Lee Charyong had visited many times in his past life with someone, but who is that? Suddenly, a young man with nerdy glasses appeared right in front of Lee Charyong, looking at him in surprise. Both of them were quite startled by the other's presence. "Are you eating now? Did you make this dish?" If I had known earlier, would have too. For some reason, the employee with nerdy glasses seemed a bit flustered and uneasy in front of Lee Charyong, so he gently broke the ice. "Do you want to eat with me?" The guy was puzzled for a moment at the suggestion, then smiled cheerfully and excitedly, "Really? Is that okay?" His smile reminded Lee Charyong of a time in his past life, when the young man said to eat and drink to your heart's content. "Later, I'll pay for your meals, Lee Charyong. Can I call you brother instead? Wow, you're amazing. If I were in that situation. I can't think and act like you do." "That's right, this place used to be their regular spot. It's been a long time, hasn't it, Sinquan Kyo? I'm starving because of debts, and everyone is working to earn money. If not you, then who will take care of me? So I must care for you too." That smile of Sinquan Kyo is as familiar as the first time they met in a previous life. Back to reality, Sinquan Kyo smiled, praising the food here as truly delicious. I thought I was the only one in our office who knew about this place. I was very surprised to see you sitting in my usual seat. In the previous life, when both of them had no money, they worked extremely hard to pay off debts and interest. There were only beer and coffee in the sauna room, and the person who took care of Lai Charyong at that time was this boy here, the only one who cared about him and always invited him to meals that filled his stomach, but one day he suddenly lost contact. A moment later in the office, the bucket of water in Sinquan Kyo's hand was coldly knocked to the ground by the hotel. Hey, did you see that? It happened again. Why are you always clumsy and breaking things like that? Being scolded, Sinquan Kyo could only bow his head and repeatedly apologize. Oh my god, it's been months and nothing has changed. Damn it, every day you apologize with words. Do you always want to be treated like that? Then let me beat you up. Facing Cha Hongcho's fierce and aggressive demeanor, Sinquan Kyo trembled, not daring to say a word. Of course, Sinquan Kyo's timid chicken-like behavior only made Cha Hongcho more irritated. God, say something, why are you so silent? Standing in a corner of his workspace, Lai Charyong was also distracted and paid attention to the situation here. That annoying guy is Cha Hongcho, someone who just started working a few months ago but already found someone to bully in the company. The young man Sinquan Kyo is a pitiful kid, maybe because he's still young. Thinking back, Lee Charyong has heard such insults before. Instead of Sinquan Kyo, Lee Charyong was the one getting flayed, that Cha Hongcho always acted superior and scolded the new employees. Unsuccessful sales made him irritable and mindless, always shouting. Lee Charyong had to endure it for quite some time, and it was truly unpleasant. Back to the present, Cha Hongcho hadn't left the warehouse and was loudly calling out to Lee Charyong from the door. Hey, come over here, rookie. As he spoke, he irritably flicked his cigarette butt towards Lee Charyong with a nasty attitude. I heard you sold 2 cars, your throat must be tight now, huh? The cigarette hit Lee Charyong's leg, making him stop what he was doing. Hey, you need to be more careful before I break your face. Facing the malicious words, Lai Charyong pondered with an expressionless face, then suddenly glanced at Cha Hongcho with a gaze so calm it was terrifying. The look and aura scared Cha Hongcho, while Lai Charyong approached him. Hey, Supervisor Cha Hongcho. As he got closer, the foolish Cha Hongcho became more frightened because from a distance, he couldn't tell how tall he was. Damn it. The closer he got, the more he felt that terrifying pressure. Hey, Supervisor Cha Hongcho, if I sell more cars than required, can I raise my voice when talking to you? Cha Hongcho was bewildered by his retort and gritted his teeth, asking, what did you say? At the end of the quarter, as an employee who has worked for less than a year, you will have a share. Until today, he had been hit twice by the supervisor, and those were the 2 times. Our bet was worth it, wasn't it? Cha Hongcho listened cluelessly on one side, then scratched his head in frustration and yelled, damn it, this is unbelievable, hey you. Lee Charyong faced him with a gentle smile, this is really interesting. Once that idiot left, the warehouse became quiet again, and Lee Charyong and Sinquan Kyo continued their work diligently. In the quiet space, the boy sighed, why is it like this? Lee Charyong replied, it's just how it is, we haven't even started the night shift yet. Did you know Cha Hongcho is originally from Daegu? That demon used to work in the domestic car showroom, but now he's changed jobs through connections with the assistant. This isn't a game you can win, newbie. Seeing the frightened look on his face, Lee Charyong sighed, this is really frustrating. Hey kid, when you're being hit, you have to hit back. Sinquan Kyo looked puzzled at this suggestion, then moved closer to Lee Charyong and whispered, you know better than I do, but next time just avoid it. Did you avoid it out of fear? As for me, I avoided it because I was too scared. Seeing him say these words calmly and accepting it, Lee Charyong couldn't hold back and whispered. As a class monitor, when you need to confront, you have to confront. If you keep avoiding, you can't win and you can't change, remember that. In his previous life, Sinquan Kyo always avoided and kept avoiding, but nothing ever went well for him. 1 year working at the Tailo car company, then another year at a different brand. He kept repeating the cycle of changing jobs with no end. If you keep avoiding like that, I don't think it's a good thing at all. Listening to the advice of Lai Charyong, Sinquan Kyo murmured absent-mindedly, avoiding it, I don't want to avoid it either. If I could avoid it, I would, but what's the point of confronting them? If I just shout like that regardless of everything, what should I do about the burden on my back? From the beginning, did anyone think they would win the game? They only said it was a consultation. Players in this game must endure to win. Lai Charyong sat next to him, listening to every word the boy said, then looked at his hand tightly gripping his tie. By this moment, Lai Charyong realized that he had touched the core values throughout Sinquan Kyos life. Those values are to avoid all fights and dangers, or burdens. Only safety is the top priority, and it is because of that safety that he is reacting so strongly now. He is the successor and also an ally of Lai Charyong, but at this moment, denying his values so frankly, how great is that sadness? In the past, there was a time when Sinquan Kyo almost collapsed because he couldn't bear it anymore. He went to Lai Charyong, "Brother, have a drink with me." And for the first time at the party, Lai Charyong saw that boy shed painful tears. "Brother, I can't do this anymore. Everywhere I go, there are people like Chahongcho. It's either being bullied or teased and oppressed to the point of being unable to breathe. Brother, even if we are apart, let's continue to care for each other and keep in touch." The memories that Lai Charyong recalled were vague and overlapping. He remembered most Sinquan Kyos advice: don't starve yourself. If you're hungry, call me anytime, okay? The warm things from the past became feelings in the present. Lai Charyong held out a finger and proposed, "Chief, can we make a bet?" "What? What do you mean?" "If I lose the bet with Chahongcho, I will do whatever you ask. On the contrary, if I win, then the director has to do something I ask for." Seeing the handsome face close to her, Sinquan Kyo got scared and backed away, sitting down on the ground. Until now, this is the price of that meal, 27 years ago. The amount of money Sinquan Kyo paid for Lai Charyong's meal was so much that he couldn't remember. Lai Charyong's hand slowly reached out to grasp Sinquan Kyo's small hand, "And we promised each other.